I love how all of our podcasts have this little gap at the beginning, this like 3 second pause while I wait for that button, that little thing to say live.
Yeah, well.
I noticed that when I watched the video the other day. It actually starts recording for me about 2 seconds before it goes live. It goes live for you when you're
Well,
recording.
hopefully you don't make any embarrassing faces or anything like that. Uh,
No one watches the videos of these.
yeah, that's probably true. Anyway, hello, listening audience. This is season 4, episode 3 of Your Book is YBiWDD Drinks. I'm Matt.
This is Tyler.
And this was supposed to be February's podcast. We are 2 days late on it because, well, my life basically after I got back from the convention went crazy go nuts as my wife and I started the process of buying a house and work
I
was
said, but yeah,
crazy.
but like in like one of the best ways possible.
Yeah. But yeah, so not so much time for recording. But thankfully, this book for this month was teeny, teeny, tiny. We'll get to that in a little bit. How have you been, Ty?
Not bad. I got sick right after con, like
Of course.
I do every con. Massively sick. But I'm feeling better now. I'm
Well,
only
that's good.
coughing a little bit.
hmm
Glad
So,
we're recording again.
yes, so am I. And what are you drinking tonight, if you are in fact drinking?
I'm not actually. I've got 2 weeks left on Whole Life,
Uh huh.
and I have most of the ciders that I bought for con still sitting out in my car. And as soon as Whole Life is done, I'll get to drinking. But I'm still going
Those
to be limiting my alcoholic beverage consumption because it's like the worst thing for you.
those might not be good anymore.
They're fine.
Okay,
Why would they not be good?
because of heat and everything.
It has not been hot enough to cook the bottles. I'm good.
All right. Well, there you go.
I've drunk a cider after being in my car for like 6 months,
hmm
and it was still okayish. These have been out there for what? When was that con? 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, well, bouts, I
Two
guess.
weeks ago? I don't
Yeah,
know.
something like that.
We're good.
Oh, a bit
They'll
ago.
come in. They'll come in tomorrow or something.
Yeah. So, things to talk about. So before we get to the book, I totally suck and didn't realize or forgot or whatever that I didn't that you had put up the podcast from 50 Shades of Suck Ass, and so I just added that to the website. So listening audience, by the time you're listening to this, you may have already listened to that. So there you go.
It's been on Podbean for a while, and the Facebook group got a link. So
Yeah.
if you're not following us on Facebook, you should be
Oh yeah.
because
It's
that's where we
amazing.
do most of our communication.
Yeah, and it's also a lot of fun because a lot of people post other stuff than just us posting and
There
blabbering
is some
stuff.
truly awful shit in our Facebook group.
And yeah, just pictures and anyway. So one thing I wanted to talk about tonight was we actually got a piece of fan mail through Facebook finally. A woman named Marilyn, who actually turns out to be a friend of a friend, says, "Hey, just wanted to send you a message about how much I am loving your podcast. I only recently discovered it, so I'm only on season 2. I listen at work and in my car at 2 times speed. So apparently she likes listening to the Chipmunks version of us. So I'm not actually sure if it's you or Tyler talking at any given time, but it makes it 2 times as funny. Haha, I get it. Anyway, as I thought I'd send you a message about how much I like it and how much of the writing advice I actually take to heart. You've made me very, very paranoid about the project I'm working on, and as a wannabe author, I'm thinking about starting a writing group called This Manuscript is Why Mommy Drinks. Kidding. And as a displaced Californian, I really like hearing California name drops. One thing that bothered me, but isn't really a thing, is that one of you, and I can't remember who, again, I was listening at 2 times speed, was that during the small town witch episode, someone says that what they liked about the book was that the witches swear allegiance to a fae, and that is how they get their power. Then there was a tangent about how in folklore witches made pact with the devil, and that's how they got their power. This only bothered me because, of course, I'm working on a book with witches, and so for my research, I'm reading some Scottish witch trials. A lot of the trials don't even mention the devil. I thought you should know, or any witches making pacts, though there definitely are those. There are some that talk about the witches being taken to fairyland and being taught how to be witches, or how someone's brother's uncle went to Egypt and read from a priest book and had their face melted off, but the brother learned magic from an Egyptian priest, etc. I just thought I would share that with you guys because I thought witches only made pacts with the devil because the American witch trials dealt with it so much. The Scottish witch trials also featured devil's marks to some degree too. I've been thinking about pacts for my novel and I haven't decided yet, but what was said about pacts did give me other ideas, so thanks for that too. Well, Marilyn, thank you very much for writing in, and I'm sorry we've made you paranoid about your writing manuscript. First off, don't call yourself a wannabe author. You are an author. In fact, the moment you're putting pen to paper, you're an author. Whether you become a professional author, that's something entirely different. But don't put yourself down. You're not a wannabe. You are an author. You're writing. You're writing a lot more than other people who aren't writing. Now, that being said, all the other people that we read on this podcast are authors too. So there's that.
That totally reminds me of an argument I had with somebody about Miley Cyrus.
Which was what?
Back when I was working at Disney, one of my leads was complaining. She said, Miley Cyrus is not an actress. I was like, she has acted and has been paid for it, therefore she is an actress. You have also been paid for acting and therefore are also an actress. Just because someone claims a profession doesn't give you any kind of say about them personally. It's just what they are.
Yeah, it's kind of like the whole no true Scotsman fallacy. But Marilyn, yeah. So anyway, specifically, I was talking about American witches and the whole Protestantism and Salem and all that. For American witches, the devil definitely does feature very heavily, but you have to also take into account who the assholes were that were putting women, to trial and everything, and it was definitely, Protestants, so there was definitely a whole lot of witchcraft because, the Puritans and everything were, very much against anything that was not, hating life and being a Puritan. So that's where that all comes from primarily. But if you read any more, that would be awesome. Let me know. Especially about witches in other countries because I know very little about them. But anyway, I want to say thank you for writing in, and please don't be paranoid about your writing. Everybody's writing can have great points. Even some manuscripts I've read that were totally dog shit. Usually there is at least one or two good things, and the trick about writing is finding those one or two things that you're good at in writing, and then learning how to write that over and over and over again until that goodness becomes something larger in a short story or a novel or whatever. And that's how you become good. So don't be paranoid. Keep it up and keep listening to the podcast. Thank you for writing in. So, Tyler, what was this month's book?
Before we move on to this month's book, I do have a note for Marilyn.
Oh, okay.
I would say about 75 to 85% of the authors we've read have also produced works that we have enjoyed. So just because a book sucks doesn't mean that author doesn't also create good works.
Unless you're
Except for Stephanie Meyer, Carlton Mellichek III, Stephanie Meyer, and E.L. James. Fuck those people.
Yeah, I mean, if you've listening to season 2, then you've probably heard the Casual Vacancy podcast, which was just terrible. And then we read Cuckoo's Calling because we're like, well, her first post Harry Potter book was shit, so let's see if this one is. And Tyler and I both absolutely loved Cuckoo's Calling. So I mean, I've actually small things in each book that we've been able to say at least that this one aspect, this one little facet didn't suck, unless you're also Duke Otterland.
Oh, Duke Otterland.
or whoever wrote
Duke Otterland.
Just don't if you once you get to Antigua, don't ever do anything that we mention in Antigua. Just don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of authors that. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe that percentage is less than I thought.
It is.
I'll have to go back and look at all the authors we've read. This month's book.
If you can call it that. I mean.
Well, no, it was a book. It was it was a book, was Prophets of the Ghost Ants. And what we actually read, because what we have access to without paying a shit ton of money, is the Illustrated Prophets of the Ghost Ants, Part 1, The Roach Boy by Clark Thomas Carlton, with illustrations by Moz Chops.
I can't believe that the book is on second edition.
Yes. So apparently, we didn't realize this going in. The book was written years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. The second edition came out about 4 years ago, and is now out of print. So the full novel costs about $40 to buy, because there just aren't that many copies of it. The author has re-released the book in sections with illustrations by this guy Moz Chops, and I have to say, the illustrations are fucking awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're really good. It's really great art. This guy Moz Chops apparently is an internet artist, does a really great job illustrating the stories.
Well, he also has done other work. Let's see. But go on. I'll look at other stuff he's done.
So what we read was the first portion of the book called The Roach Boy, and I don't even know what percentage of the book this is, because we don't have access to the full book. But by no stretch of the imagination is this a complete book. What we've read, it feels like maybe the first third of a book. Maybe.
He's a video game artist. He's worked on Batman and Robin, Fantastic Four, Warhammer, Heroes of Might and Magic, which makes him awesome. And he's been working on, I guess, on his own novel.
I will actually throw a link to the website for this book, Prophets of the Ghost Ants, the illustrated version, because there are some sample illustrations, just because I think people should check them out, because they are very good illustrations.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this book, like when I opened it up on Kindle, and when it gives the estimated time left reading, which is Kindle's, based on how quickly you turn pages and everything, Kindle kind of learns your pace. When I opened it up, it was like, you have 45 minutes left. I'm like, the fuck? And yeah, it's only a third, and anyway, I guess I'll just go into the plot and then we'll talk about it after that. So, Prophets of the Ghost Ants, basically the idea is that this is Earth far, 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 far into the future, after some cataclysmic event happened and wiped out almost all life on Earth, except for insects and human beings. And now, instead of dying off, human beings, somehow in a way that this doesn't make any goddamn logical sense, or the fact that this is not how evolution works, human beings shrink. They shrink down to the size of basically like smaller than bugs. Like this book makes frequent reference to the fact that like fleas are bigger than people. Their human beings are riding on ants, or other bugs like cockroaches, and basically, human beings have forgotten pretty much all of their technology, all of their history. They've gone back to a semi-feudal tribalistic society that's basically based around ants. They have various castes. They're very rigidly structured. At one point we see an execution happen when you find out that basically a person from the soldier caste banged a person from some other caste, and so that's apparently bad, so they get eaten by ants. And human beings live this symbiotic life with ants. They basically, cover themselves in the smell that makes ants recognize each other, and they function alongside them. They're queen, and they have a king and queen, and it's, yeah, anyway. And apparently human urine does something where it keeps some sort of like
the urine sorceress.
Yeah, she's apparently the queen.
The queen is the sorceress queen. And apparently her urine is magic
Urine
somehow.
is magic. Um, but anyway, so this book follows this character named Anand. Is that how you
An
read it?
end,
Anand?
yeah.
Anand. And Anand is the lowest of the low. Not only is he a middenite, which means he works in the middens, as in he basically just deals with shit all day, and rotting things and trash. He's also basically a half breed because he's part of the ant people, and then from his father, and then his mother is a roach person. Apparently, there's a tribe of people that ride roaches, and they're kind of like travelers in that they kind of just roam wherever they will, and they're not really welcome anywhere. Um, but they're kind of tolerated as long as they stay the hell away. Partially because they stink, and also partially because this book is kind of subtly racist because they're dark
It's
skinned and
I think it's less racist than it is a horrible caste society. Everybody has their place in society, and it never changes. And the roach people exist so far out of the caste society that they can't even be a part of it. But also racist because they are dark skinned.
yeah. And so Anand basically struggles with his existence. He's in the stereotypical fashion, he wants to be more than he is. He's constantly basically shit on by the people of the ant colony because of where he is, to the point where like people like don't touch me because then you'll make me polluted and I'll have to go take a bath or something.
Like he can't share food with anybody because they will. It's polluted. It's unclean, and it's
Uh,
just
it's very
no.
over the
It's
top.
polluted and unclean because his job is to move shit from place to place, but not because he eats roaches or some crap like that.
Yeah. So he struggles. His father apparently had his tongue cut out by a sheriff because maybe he got mouthy or something. I don't know. Um, but anyway, through the course of the book, we find out that the queen of the colony is pregnant. She gives birth to a daughter, and apparently part of giving birth to daughters is to try and poison them, and then if they survive the poison, then they get to grow up.
Right.
And
The second daughter, whenever you have a second daughter, they get stabbed by a wasp stinger, and if they survive that, then
they become the next heir
right,
of the
and the
colony.
oldest daughter currently living in the colony has to go start a new colony.
Yeah, and so that's what ends up happening is that um, the queen's daughter gets married off, and then basically they call it the fission, where basically they draw lots, and those people that draw a yellow chit basically get to go off and form this new colony. And so this is all happening while this is going on, and of course Anand draws a chit, and he's going off with the colony, and so he's going off, and his leaving his parents behind, and this is kind of where the plot splits. And when they're talking about the fission in this place that the new queen, the daughter, is going to go and establish a colony, they went and scouted it out, and there's this talk of people riding red ants, and lair spiders, which are basically giant trapdoor spiders, and cannibals who apparently live high up in the trees, might fall down and eat you. Anyway, um, so Anand's plot splits off basically, and they're going to this new colony. And
Oh, before that happens,
what?
he sneaks out with his mom.
Oh yes, excuse me.
He sneaks out with his mom to go to the roach people party.
Yes, there's apparently
It's not super clear, but he and his mom sneak off to go party with the roach people. And they get there, and the chief of the Roach people is like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here, because you are." I think he
Special.
calls him a bridge or something like that.
Something like that.
That he's going
Spanner.
to a
Spanner.
spanner. He calls him
Spanner.
the spanner, and they give him his very first Roach people costume, and uh,
Basically, the idea is that they occasionally will send, like I guess just women, into various colonies to basically find men and have sex with them and marry them and have kids, so that their children can grow up in the colony, learn that colony's particular quirks and ways of acting, and then they'll return back to the Roach people, and basically kind of serve as diplomatic advisors, so to speak,
yeah,
like and so that's what his job has been, and is to he didn't know that until this moment. He basically got to spend the first 16 of his years of his life getting shit on, um, before they let him know that no, in fact, you are special. You have a special task. Um, and while he's at the Roach party, they basically give him shrooms, and he trips balls the
he
entire
trips
time.
balls, meets a chick in the span of a night, meets a girl, falls in love with her, uh, eats shrooms.
Is attacked by
They
night
get
wasps.
attacked by night wasps. Everyone thinks that he and this girl have died. They didn't, because apparently he's also a fucking badass.
Well, she is
Like
also
somebody who spent 16 years of his life just shoveling shit is apparently a fucking ninja.
yeah. That's one part
That's
about
a
this
problem
book.
I have with the book, but
Yeah,
there's a scientific thing I have problem with wrong with the book. We'll get to that later. So they kill the wasp, and they make their way back to
the Roach people.
the Roach people, where the kick-ass acid trip party has become a funeral for them, and they're like, "Hey, we're alive!" And suddenly everybody loves him, because when he got there, they kind of shit on him too, because they're like, "Whatever, you're a fucking half-breed. You're not one of us." At least
And
the
then they
kids
found,
were.
and then they found out, oh, he's a spanner,
Right.
and like all of these chicks who were being snotty to the woman he fell in love with are like, oh well, hey, I gotta figure out a way that I can get him away from her, and it's
Right.
just like
It.
it's such a 180 that it didn't make
Yeah.
sense. It didn't, and also you'd think that like if this person was like off being raised in another location, you'd think that it was kind of known that that was his role, right? It's
Yeah.
not like do they just go off and have half-breed kids who have shitty lives because they're half Roach people, like just because that seems a little fucked up. So I mean that whole part didn't really make sense to me, that they didn't know that that was his special role. And it's like, why wouldn't you tell the kid that?
Right. Why wouldn't that is something I would have been telling that kid from day one.
Yeah,
Hey, you are going to be shit on in your life here, but we will be able to sneak away to the Roach people. And when you turn,
16.
it's when you turn 16, because you're a half breed or a half Roach person, you can just leave the colony and they'll let you. Other people can't do that, because if you are born into a colony, you are considered the property of the king and queen. So that's why they're saying, hey, when you turn 16, you can come join us. Your mom will come join us. And he's like, but my dad's going to be all lonely there. And they're like, well, he can't come with us because he's the property of the king and queen. And if he comes here, they'll say we're harboring a fugitive, and they'll use that as an excuse to kill all of us.
Yeah.
So things are shitty there. And it's pretty much accepted that when he turns 16, his mom is going to leave his dad. So they get back, they get to the funeral, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're a fucking rock star." And he goes to this girl's dad, and this girl apparently is older than normal for an unmarried girl in the Roach people society.
And also, apparently, either tall, like
I
her
think she's
first real,
tall and has huge boobs or something.
yeah, I got the feeling that she was definitely like was curvaceous, like that the other
She's all about that bass.
apparently so.
Um,
Um,
so he goes to her dad and says, "Hey, here's the deal. I dig your daughter, but I can't ask you to let me marry her because I have to go away for 6 months. And if something happens to me in that time and she's not trying to be married to someone else while I'm gone, she'll be too old to get married. So your daughter's cool, but I can't. And the dad's like, no, fuck that. You can marry my daughter when you come back.
Yeah.
And everybody's happy. And then he's like, okay, guys, see ya, and leaves.
Yeah. And then
All of that in the span of like a few hours.
yeah, and Anand's had this friend of his that he's kind of grown up with because they're both dealing shit, and so they kind of like palled around. But as he's gotten older, like he's been even less tolerated to the point where like his friend's dad is like, no, you can't talk to that kid anymore. He's fucking a horrible influence, and he's dirty, and blah 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 blah. And did Anand save him? Was that the thing? Was that the reason why? Like he got the gift?
No, what happened was Anand had always shared food with him. And apparently, like, you're not allowed to eat certain things because only the royals can eat certain animals, like certain insects when you kill them. But he would, and he would share with this guy. And when Anand was leaving, the friend gave him, what did he give him? A knife?
Yes, it was like a rose quartz knife or something.
Yeah, really nice knife. And he's like, this is a payment for all the food you've given me. And Anand is trying to say, hey, no, I shared that with you. You don't have to give me anything. But the friend had to make it look like it was a payment because getting gifts from the polluted kid, there's a whole bullshit social standing thing. So he had to make it seem like, no, I paid you for those things because I'm better than you.
Yeah.
It was a very, very much a fuck you, get out of here thing.
And so he, and this is happening as Anand's getting ready to go walk off with this fucking, think of it like, it's a fucking line of army ants, right? They're wandering off, and while they are going off, what?
Before we go further,
Uh-huh.
one of the actually interesting things I think about this is when you are a part of a colony, you regularly douse yourself in this stuff called kin scent, which is the scent of the ants in the colony. And when they execute you, when you fuck up so badly that you need to be killed, they just give you a bath. They just wash all that shit off and let the ants kill you. So everybody who lives in an ant colony is constantly having to douse themselves in the scent to make sure the ants won't kill them.
Yeah, it's basically like,
one rainstorm and everybody's fucked.
It's also to the point where like the queen gave birth to her daughter, and like they had to fucking hurry because the
Right.
ants were like, there's a goddamn intruder in here, and they were just gonna come and kill that fucking baby. So anyway, they're wandering off, and Anand's kind of just hanging back, hating life because he's away from this woman that he's fallen in love with, and his mom and his dad, and there are these two other people who are like slightly higher on the Midnight food chain, so they shit on him all the time because if you have a small bit of power, you're just going to do that. And shortly before basically the parade of people takes off, Anand meets the acquaintance of this little girl, and of course her parents shit on him, but she's a little girl, she has no guile, and she's nice to him. And while they're out traveling, basically she gets snatched by a trapdoor spider and hauled off underground, and her dad and mom of course are freaking out because a spider just up and grabbed their daughter.
Right.
And like the sheriff just kills her dad, lops his head off.
Because he won't just walk away from his daughter. He's like, your daughter's dead already. Either the spider's killed her and eaten her, or it's injected her with this toxin and laid its eggs in her. So let's just go. There's nothing we can do. And the dad is, understandably grief-stricken, so they just cut his head off right there.
Yeah. And
Fucking brutal.
so they keep walking for the rest of the day, and then um, but he Anand can't think about that. He can't get it out of his mind because this is like one person who wasn't his family that like treated him nice, and so he's like goes all right. He basically puts on his red bandana and he goes fucking back and hunts down the spider, and he's got like this spear thing. Um, he fights the spider with, and he fucking kills the spider, stabs it basically through its mouth into its head, kills it.
Like a fucking badass, like nobody who has spent most of their formative
Yeah,
years shoveling crap would know how to do.
yeah, he's doing like backflips and he's jumping and he's doing all of this shit. It's like, no, you actually, there is some, there's something to say for raw talent, but there's raw talent and then there's being a martial badass, and this guy should not be a martial badass. And so they he kills the spider and he goes down into the spider's lair and finds the girl, and sure enough she's been paralyzed and had eggs injected into her. And he gets her back out and he gets the eggs out of her and gets her back out and saves her.
Performs
And
minor fucking surgery on her to cut
yeah,
the eggs out of her, and then mixes up this magic poultice that he puts on her back, and it starts healing her up. And it's like, no, bullshit. You don't know all these things. You know the life of shoveling crap.
yeah, and washing out chamber pots and that sort of shit. And so he, takes her back, and of course, like the sheriff's like, whoa, blah 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 blah, half breed, fuck you, blah blah blah, and like goes to like just start whipping the shit out of him, and the girl's mother
It
falls
wasn't
on
even
top
that
of
he was a half breed. It's that he was part of a different caste. Because the mother and the father and the little girl were like middle class. They were like merchant caste, and he was the midden caste, which is like the crap shovelers. So they're like, "You're polluted and unclean. You touched one of us. That no." And the mother finally goes, "Well, guys, I know I was a dick to him earlier, but he saved my daughter's fucking life."
yeah, so don't whip him, whip me first. And he passes out. He comes to, and basically they've been carrying him around in like their family wagon until he woke up, and they basically give him like some water and send him on his way because they might like him, but he's still middle class, so he has to go stand at the back. And he gets there, and people like still kind of shit on him, but it's more like, yeah,
It's like a friendly shitting on him.
you're a filthy half breed, but you're our filthy half breed. Like
Also, I think they realized, oh fuck, he could probably kill us all if he wanted.
he's like, and that's the thing that I don't get, right? Like, he's got this fucking like quartz knife sword thing. You don't let your slaves have weapons. Like,
Well, they're not slaves. They're not slaves.
why
That's
didn't
the
they
thing.
even fucking take that? That doesn't make any sense. Anyway,
Because he'd already, it's not like my slave has something nice and I'm going to take it. It's he's touched it. It's unclean now, so nobody wants it. That's what it is. That's how. Yeah, it's not a slave system. It's a caste system. But he finds out when he returns to his group of people that his status has improved there,
yeah,
and
like
that's where we leave him. Like that's it for him.
no, that's not.
No, that's not. There's
They
one more thing.
they get basically attacked. They get attacked. Basically, people start getting shot with sleepy darts.
Yes.
And the last thing he sees before he passes out is human beings riding these giant red fucking ants.
Right, the
And
red ants that they said weren't going to be a problem. The
well,
spiders that they said weren't
also
going to be a problem.
supposedly that didn't exist, right?
Right.
Like that was the thing, was this is apparently like either a tribe or a sect that supposedly doesn't exist. Like when the queen, the original queen of the colony, brings up the existence, like the scouts who went looking for the new colony site, and the priests are all like, silly queen, they don't exist, those are just stories told to children to frighten them into behaving because parents are secretly terrorists. And yeah, that's kind of how that's where the book ends, at least in total, and also for the that plot line. Now, once the kind of that new procession heads off to go start the other colony, the other queen basically tells the king, I am more or less leaving you. I'm going to take our new daughter back to my old colony where I can raise her among people who aren't quite assholes. And she'll learn to kind of appreciate people from other castes instead of your shitty daughter.
And the king's like, but my other daughter just left, and you want to take this daughter away from me? And she's like, yeah. Also, by the way, I'm moving into our spare bedroom.
Yeah, you've got your, and he's like it's all kind of, it's all really fucked up because
It's very abrupt.
and yeah, because he doesn't seem like an asshole. Like it seemed like really harsh for the situation.
Yeah.
Like she's like, yeah, I'm basically breaking up with you while staying. We're basically separated but still married and living together. And like he's like, oh, okay, okay.
Right. Okay. And then he's like, servants, bring me my medicinal alcohol.
Yeah,
And they just keep him drunk all the time because he's a wreck otherwise.
yeah.
Oh, it's so
Well, it
funny.
also has no legs. Like it's
Right,
just,
he has no legs.
yeah, because they got chopped off in battle or something. And so yeah, so she basically takes, like, wanders around the colony, picks out a bunch of people to go with her, and they go back home. And they're back at this other colony, and they're basically like peacenik liberals at this other colony. Like, they're, nobody really kind of respects them much. Like they mentioned that this is a hive in decline or something like that.
Hmm.
And while they are there, basically they get attacked, and they get attacked by these ants that are faster and larger than the leafcutter ants that the main characters of the book
And they're all white.
use. And well, they're not just white; they're translucent.
Translucent.
Because
They're the
you
ghost
know this,
ants.
that they're translucent because they look like ghosts, but also because Anand's mom gets like straight up stabbed and then eaten and swallowed whole by an ant, and his dad gets like cut, and we find out basically that this is like some sort of like pseudo religious order that was led to this colony by somebody who ran away from the first colony and then joined up with these kind of religious fanatics who are the prophets of the ghost ants, hence the name of the book. Um, and again, that's kind of where we leave off. That the head of these ghost ants um, is familiar with the queen, and basically implies that he's gonna like rape her
Right.
after the attack, and he's like going to enjoy her. And you're like, wow, that's rapey. And they murder all of the men in the colony, and they and all of the old people, and basically take the children and the women, and that's it. We don't really know why they did it, except that they're giant assholes and they were trying to steal the queen from the colony. Um, we don't know who they are really. Like nobody knows about them. Like it wasn't like, oh, that's the ghost ant tribe. Um, so it's and that's it. And the book doesn't have any conclusion. Like,
There's no resolution to literally anything.
yeah, nothing is resolved. And I mean, this isn't even like the case where it's a buy the second book, right? Like this this isn't even like even close to a full novel. It's so it was very kind of frustrating for me that that was the case. And in fact, the only 1-star review on Amazon is basically that complaint that this is bullshit.
Yeah.
You basically made me pay Kindle prices for a third of a book, and the second third is not due out for until 2015. It's like
Sometime in the year. There's
it
no more information than 2015.
it is, in my opinion, a bald-faced money grab. Um, it's some he's got the book written. Like, that's the thing, is he has
What I
the
think it is he probably wanted to pay the artist to keep him working. So he took the portion that he had and said, "We're going to release it in chunks now." So he's going to make money from this, pay the artist so he can finish the work. But still, yeah, finish your fucking project.
yeah
Put it on
or
Kickstarter if your book is so great.
yeah, and it's just I didn't yeah. Anyway, we found this book through BookBub. It's a free service that basically you sign up for BookBub, and then it basically finds you ebook deals. And so it's a legit service because it's not trying to give you ripped off pirated copies of ebooks. You're
Yeah,
actually going to
it's
be
through Amazon, and
yeah.
they have deals that are it's anywhere from free to I think the most expensive one I've seen was $2.99 for like a 5-book set.
Yeah. And it's all deals, and you can put in what genres you want, or look for particular authors and that sort of thing. So it's been interesting. I've found a couple of things I'm going to be reading through that.
A lot of the books I read last year were BookBub books
Yeah.
because
And
it's a daily email.
yeah, and it's kind of cool. You get a selection of 5 or 6 books in your email, and you can buy them if you want. Um, and we found it that way. And I thought the premise of the book, that humanity had basically devolved, and not just devolved, but they shrank and apparently grew elf ears. Um,
Fucking elf ears.
right? Like, that was the thing I didn't get. Like, these are supposed to be humans, but they have elf ears. So, and the premise is fucking ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It makes no goddamn sense from any way, shape, or form. Because one, that's not how evolution works.
It's not even that makes sense. It is physically impossible. If a human were to shrink to that size, they would fucking freeze to death.
Well, it's also the fact that the author says that this process takes place over many many generations, and I'm sorry, if all life on planet Earth has been wiped out, you're all gonna except for
We're
bugs,
not
you're
going to
all
shrink.
gonna
We're going to die.
yeah, you're all gonna fucking starve out, and the only thing that's gonna be left to evolve are gonna be the fucking ants and cockroaches, and that's it. So it's that it doesn't make sense. Um, that being said, the book is actually not badly written. Um, I don't, like I was telling Tyler, I don't think it's 71 5-star reviews on Amazon good. Um, but when it comes to the quality of the books, that we read for this podcast, it's definitely, I would say, probably in the upper third.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's for what it is. It's well written.
Now, what it is it's a book about people who shrunk to the size of ants. So take that with a grain of salt. But
It's I think if we'd had the full book, we'd be able to make a much better assessment of the quality of the story. Given that we only read the first third of the story, I would say that it might get better. It might
but
turn out well.
I don't. How much did we pay for this? $1.99.
I got it for free.
Okay. See, I think I may have missed that and actually had to pay. But still, I
Yeah,
mean,
it
it's like
probably was like $1.99.
I wouldn't pay what
Certainly not paying the
$6
$40 for a hard copy.
or almost $6 for the fucking. I mean, I wouldn't pay $6
I'd
for this.
I'd pay $6 to read this book.
Uh-huh.
Um, Plus the art is kind of cool, but in this,
Sure. I mean, but also I've got like some issues with the book itself, in that um so the book, one thing that the book I think does is it illustrates just how fucking brutal that world would be. Like, the book opens up with basically children getting murdered by a pack of wandering fleas, and like,
Right. It starts out with Anand and his buddy are hauling crap back from somewhere, and this group of warrior caste boys kill a centipede, and they're all celebrating when all of a sudden fucking fleas come out of nowhere and just murder the shit out of everyone.
yeah, like, and it's like quick. Like they're larger than the kids, so like one basically grabs the kid, stabs him in the chest with its like proboscis, and then shoves its mouth inside him, and then basically just sucks him dry in an instant. And it's short and brutal. Like it's just like you're alive 1 second, and then the next you're fucking flea food. And so I thought, I was like, okay, that makes sense. But also, like, if it's that bad, like, bugs outbreed humans by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and also, it doesn't make sense to me that there would be fleas, because fleas exist because there are larger animals to drain blood from. I think that a flea would have to eat a lot of fucking shit. Um, fleas I think have to become a lot more predatory and would have to be like ravenous to get it. I mean, there's just a lot of this book that I don't know how much it actually makes sense once you start trying to look at it beyond the very surface level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I think that if you're just able to kind of like not think about it too hard and just like try not to contemplate like the backstory or anything, this could be a much better book, but I can't do that, unfortunately. What did you like about the book?
The author has clearly put a lot of work into developing the setting.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows in how much he really just wants to tell you all about it. To the point where it got a little distracting. Like there was too much that I felt that I needed to know to make this world believable.
Mm-hmm.
He has clearly spent a lot of time developing it. It feels to me like this, like I've mentioned this before, that it feels to me like this is somebody's RPG campaign setting
Yeah.
that people have been playing in, and he went, "I'm gonna write a book about it."
Yeah, I mean, it does feel that way a little bit. Um, I just, I mean, what was the thing that you said you had a problem with the book scientifically?
It was just that if a human were to shrink down to that size, their surface area decreases uh, by like you lose. It's like you're like a 5,000th of the surface area you had, but your mass
Mm-hmm.
decreases a lot more than that, like 350,000 times.
Yeah.
And to survive, the way heat works is you lose your heat through your surface area, but you generate it through your mass. At that point, your body is not generating enough heat to keep you alive.
Yeah, that's
Plus, the way our lungs work, you're not going to be able to pull in enough oxygen to survive either. So you will freeze and suffocate because of the way our bodies work. They don't
yeah.
work much smaller.
So yeah, it's eh.
And that's why you see anybody who with a there's fucking no good way to say this without sounding like an asshole. Anybody with the mutation of being significantly smaller have tons of health problems
Mm-hmm.
because all related to that size.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I love Peter Dinklage, but he's not going to be an old man.
Yeah.
So the fact that they think people will shrink down to that size and still have a functioning society or be alive at all,
Yeah.
somebody didn't do any kind of research. They just went, wouldn't it be cool if?
Yeah. Let's
But
hold on a second.
that might be a little nitpicky.
Give me a second.
Did you have
I
notes?
have no. I have some weird thing playing on my computer. It's stupid auto playing.
Porn.
No, it's. I have no. There we go. I just closed all of Firefox. Just some stupid auto playing ad driving me nuts. I was trying to find it. Um, yeah, I mean, I think some of the like as improbable as the action bits were, considering like you were saying, this guy's been shoveling shit all of his life. Like I thought it was entertaining. And I was definitely finding myself like losing myself in the book where it wasn't really
Hmm. Definitely.
worried so much about the improbability of it. So I
There,
think in
there.
that sense,
The writing is good enough to allow the suspension of disbelief.
yeah. I mean, we've definitely read books where like the book could have been better if I had been able to turn off the critical part of my brain. Um, but the writing was not good enough to really allow me to do that, and this book
Right.
was. It's the difference between watching a good bad movie and a bad movie. Like a good bad movie you can enjoy because despite it being bad, and this is, I guess, a good bad book because I don't think it's like I said, I don't think it's as good as a 5-star review. Like I think I would definitely, if I was going to review this on Amazon, I would give it a 3. But yeah,
Like a
I don't know.
solid 3.
Yeah, no, it's a solid 3. I mean, it's got its problems, um, but it's entertaining, and it sucks that we didn't get the entire experience because I think this guy is going for a bald-faced money grab. But um, yeah, I think that's it. I don't really think I have any more to say on the book because it's not a book; it's a third of a book.
Definitely.
All right,
We've
so
almost talked about it for an hour. Not for That's significant for it not being a book.
oh well, I don't think it was for a full hour. I mean, we did
Well, no,
shoot the shit
almost.
about yeah. Anyway, you said you had found books for us for what?
That was partially a joke.
Okay.
What I got was, let me go back to it on Amazon here. Was through BookBub.
Uh huh.
I got a recommendation for a book series called Four and a Half Shades of Fantasy. Anything where it says shades of, I immediately am like, this is gonna be bullshit. Um, a paranormal fantasy anthology, and it
Hmm.
looks like 5 books. And it's still $0 on Amazon. You get the Kindle edition absolutely free,
Hmm.
and it's 4.5 thrilling fantasy romance novels in one. From best-selling author W.J. May, each shade is a different genre of the fantasy, paranormal, and romance, all from different series. And it's like the first book in multiple series that she's got,
Uh huh.
um, or he. I don't know. W.J. May. I just assume it's a female because of romance.
Most I think romance authors are female. I think that's just the thing. So, are we gonna read that? That sounds.
Oh, I'm looking at the first review. It says I did not realize that it wasn't complete books. So probably not, because I'm so fucking sick of reading partial books. They're all starters, looks like.
What? So that really chaps my ass that you've got these people who are like, I'm gonna put out half of a book. It's like,
Yeah, it's
you know,
5 books and it's 521 pages.
so
Those aren't full books.
it's all the
It's like
first.
the first 3 chapters of
That's
every book.
such bullshit. That is see, it's a bald-faced money grab. It's I'm gonna put this stuff out to make you buy it, and then because you've bought the first third of the book or whatever, you're gonna then buy it again. You know what? Just assholes, just listen to me. If you're an author that's doing this type of shit, Don't do this. Don't do that. It's just greedy. Just put the book out for
Because what that
call it
says,
good.
what that says to your readers is, "Fuck you, give me your money."
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. It also to me says my book isn't good enough for you to make it all the way through, and that they're relying almost on your like people need to complete things, right?
Hmm.
Like it's like, okay, you know what? Just if your book's good enough, people will read it to the end. And if you want to sell it for $1.99, that's still cheap enough where people are going to buy it. Don't put out a third of your book for 99 cents, make people read it, and then hope that you'll annoy them into purchasing it basically again to finish it because that's just I think that's insulting to your readers. Um,
If you have to trick people into reading your book, you did it wrong.
yeah, people should want to read your book because they actually enjoyed it, not just because they want to know how it ends because you basically put out a teaser without really like I mean, at least with this book, he didn't acknowledge it. Like it wasn't like this was Ghost Dance 1 of 3, right? Like this was Prophets of the Ghost Dance. No indication at the time that we purchased it that this was a third of a book. So I don't know if this other
It did say part one, but I assume that was like first in a trilogy or first in a series, not this is just a chunk of a book.
yeah. So anyway, meh. Um yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all I got.
I've got a couple ideas for next month's book or this month's book now, but I'll uh, I'll tell you about it offline.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about it online and give the book some accidental publicity if we end up not reading it.
There's also the possibility that you and I are going to be going and seeing another movie at the end of this month.
Yes, I need to put that thing together.
Yes, we do, and soon. But anyway, um, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, you have anything else?
No,
All right. Well, that's it. I'll do better this time of putting this podcast up before it goes weeks and weeks old. So, anyway, thank you, listening audience. This was the February season 4, episode 3 of Your Book is Why Daddy Drinks: Prophets of the Ghost Ants, by oh god, now I've even lost the Amazon page. Who's this by?
I don't know. I lost it too.
One sec.
Clark Thomas Carlton.
Clark Thomas Carlton,
Illustrations by Moz Chops.
who is much better at
Moz
art
Chops is
than
a
this
better
other.
artist than Carlton is an author.
Yeah. But anyway, that's it. This is Matt,
This is Tyler.
and good night.
Good night.